Welcome to another episode of Simple Thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about the new Disney Channel show Raven's Home. Now, I grew up on That's So Raven as a kid, and I always thought it was very funny. It was enjoyable seeing, Raven-Symoné go through such crazy situations like being psychic while in high school, and she was always such fun to watch, honestly. Her and Chelsea and Eddie, they were fun. They had a fun dynamic, and it was always just a laugh riot to me as I saw them, because they would have such good sense of comedic timing, especially Raven-Symoné, because she just knew how to deliver her lines so perfectly and effortlessly and just make it so funny, honestly. And that was just something I always enjoyed the most about That's So Raven, because Raven herself was very funny. Now, in terms of Raven-Symoné in terms of politics, I say this now, I can respect her as an actress, as a comedian in that sense. But I can't respect her when it comes to politics, because I'm sorry, like you say, when she says shit like she's dark white, I'm like, really? Dark white? You want to? Okay. You go with that. You go with that, honey. But, and just as well, it's like, you got beat by Ann Coulter. I'm like, come on. That's the easiest person to beat. Anyone can beat Ann Coulter. You just gotta use common sense with her. And she loses. So, for Raven-Symoné to get beat by Ann Coulter, I was like, okay, no. In terms of politics, stay away from that shit. You clearly don't know what you're doing there. But when it comes to like acting and being funny, she's like basically the queen of it, honestly. She just knows how to deliver lines. She has a great sense of timing, a great sense of inflection. She just knows what she's doing. She's like a master in her craft on that front. So that's what I always respected about her. And with the new show, Raven's Home, which is supposed to be like the spinoff, or more or less a sequel, it takes place like with Raven out of high school and she has kids now. I thought, okay, I might not like this. With the way Disney Channel is and the way their sitcoms are, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna hate this. I feel like I'm just gonna not have fun watching this. And as I watched it, I was like, you know what? This was actually pretty good. I can't pretend like it's bad. I thought, I'm gonna hate this, I'm really not gonna enjoy it, but no, I legitimately had fun watching it. Now, the thing about it is that there are some gripes. I cannot pretend like it's an absolute perfect series. Like, no, there are clear flaws here. But the flaws of it mainly revolve around some of the kids. Now, the thing about the show is it brought back like mainly the two people from That's So Raven and Chelsea. And they're honestly the great parts of it. They still have such a great dynamic. They're still funny as hell. You still remember them being as crazy kids as they were before, but now they're adults and tackling very different situations and more or less more adult situations. And I really like what they did there is that they matured the characters while at the same time keeping them sort of familiar, That's something I enjoy a lot about this series. Like, the dynamic between Raven and Chelsea is so great, and it's just enjoyable. And the way they do it here is that Raven and Chelsea now basically live together. They're divorced moms, and their family's basically not gonna deal with each other. And they deal with each other very well. They feel like a genuine, nice family, honestly. And that's just the one major great thing about the series. The flaw, though, is mainly the kids. And it's not exactly all the kids. It's particularly Raven's kids that are kind of bothersome to me. Like, Raven has a daughter and a son named Booker and Nia. And it mainly might just be the actors, and it might also be a bit of the writing. Because they just tend not to have funny lines, or they just tend not to be very good at the delivery of said lines. Like I remember in the first episode, Raven's daughter Nia ended up having to say this funny line that was supposed to be a good comeback quip or sort of an insult to her brother Booker. And it was funny, but her delivery of it fucked it up because she was saying the line, But the thing is, when you're delivering your line, you have to breathe. You're supposed to breathe first, then deliver the line. Because otherwise, if you end up breathing mid-sentence like I just did right then, you kind of mess up the delivery of it. And that's sort of what happens. She ends up delivering the line and ends up breathing in to try to catch her breath to finish saying the line. And it's like, you messed up the timing of that because you had to breathe at that point. Like, that's why in acting classes, the basic thing is like, breathe. You gotta work on your breathing because you don't want to have to go like that every time whenever you're supposed to say your line. You want to say it like right there with no major interruption. And that's sort of the problem. Is that I can't really tell. It's like, is it the kids? Like, is it the actors? Are they just, it's like, I don't know. At one point I feel like that's what it is. Cause when you see them compared to Raven herself, Raven's like, just blows them out of the water. Raven's just absolutely funny. She just knows what she's doing there. So, I don't know. I feel like maybe as the series goes along, the kids will get better at it. You know, they're probably still in the learning phases of acting and whatnot. Maybe Raven-Symoné has given them like some tips to help them out, hopefully. But I just feel like that's just the main gripe I have is just the kids need to work. And the funny thing, another funny thing is that Chelsea's son, Levi, he's the youngest. But he's actually very funny too. And I really like what they did here. Like, he's basically, the thing about Chelsea was, she was pretty much an airhead. She would make pretty obviously bad decisions or very stupid decisions and whatnot and do a lot of things that kind of would get her or her friends into bad situations and stuff like that. She obviously had a good heart. She was not a mean person. She was very nice. But then, and the funny thing is, she has a son. And her son, Levi, is honestly kind of smart, you know? He kind of has his wits about him. And the funny thing is, they switch the dynamics where usually the mother looks out for the kid. In this sense, it's the kid has to look out for the mother. Levi really has to look out for Chelsea because it's like, okay, I gotta make sure she doesn't end up getting herself or anybody else hurt. And it's funny how he deals with her and all that. He's honestly very funny. And honestly, I think he understood I think he probably had better acting classes. I'm not going to lie. Cause I feel like he understands the idea of delivering good lines. Like, he honestly gets genuine laughs out of me whenever he has some type of funny dialogue or has to respond to, say, Booker or Nia or to Raven and Chelsea. I just really like how they did that. And I like the dynamic between him and his mom. They do very well with how they wrote him. But that's just kind of my thing. It's just the major gripe is just Booker and Nia, Raven's kids they just need work. That's just the ultimate thing about it. Is just they need maybe just some better acting classes, a few more tips here and there, and probably some better dialogue. Like, just get some better writers or something, just better jokes that they could benefit from some better jokes. Cause they can say things that can be funny, but their delivery of it can be a bit bad. Like, I remember one thing with Booker is that he ends up getting kind of dissed by his mom, Raven. And he's supposed to have a funny reaction to it. And at first it is starting to be build up to a funny joke, but his delivery of it is like, you know, you said too many words there that the reaction kind of felt flat, you know? Like, he's like, oh, that was cold. That was very savage, Mom. Cold blooded. I'm like, had he just said like maybe 3 words, he should have looked there like, that was just cold. Like, saying something like that. If he said it like that, that would have been funny. That could have been way more funny, especially if you have a good delivery of it. But here he just didn't he just had too much going with that reaction to it. So that's just kind of the one thing that kind of works against the series is just the kid, just Nia and Booker. And another thing is they have this friend, I don't really remember her name. She's just very weird. And I can't get a fix on her. I'm like, I want to feel like she's supposed to be funny, but I feel like she's just not. Like I look at her, I'm like, I feel like I should be laughing at you, but I can't. I just can't bring myself to get a laugh. It's just kind of the weird thing about it. And That's just kind of my major gripe. It's just the kids. Ultimately, they have good, funny jokes in the series altogether, and I find myself actually watching it from time to time. It's actually it's a pretty decent sequel, honestly, to the series. I can't pretend like, oh, it's just a major cash grab. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like they genuinely wanted to continue these character story arcs, and they genuinely put major thought and effort into it. I really commend them for that. And instead of just feeling like the obvious, well, we're going to go off nostalgia. Because there I would have been like, oh, that's what I feared. And thankfully they quelled my fears. They easily quelled my fears. So it's honestly very decently made. There's clear effort put into it. One other thing though is that, I also kind of like somewhat of what they're doing with it is that they have a bit of a sort of a harsh reality. They acknowledge the fact that, yeah, divorce isn't exactly that easy. Granted, there's sort of a weird thing. Like, Raven, the man she was with to have Nia Booker, it's Devon from That's So Raven, you know? And the thing is like, oh, like, the thing about that is, like, you would think, oh, they should work out fine. They had nice chemistry in, like, That's So Raven. They were really nice together. Then you get to the series, it's like, yeah, they got together, had kids, and got divorced. It's like, well, shit. It's like, shit. They just got divorced. Okay. But the thing about it is, they did something kind of different about it. Like, we don't know exactly what went down, but it feels like they kind of broke up on sort of a mutual term, rather than they're bitter to each other. Like, even the way Raven and Devon acted towards each other when they brought him in for an episode, they didn't seem bitter to each other. They didn't seem to hate each other. In fact, Raven gives him a nice compliment, like, oh, you are fine, some shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, what was the reason for y'all not working out exactly? It's like in that movie Boyhood, where it's like, okay, the mother and the father are split, but from what it seems like, there seemed no reason for them to split. Like, the father seemed pretty cool. It seemed like the mother had some baggage, I'll admit, but I don't understand why they split. So, maybe they just realized they weren't meant for each other, I guess. And that's probably the same with Raven and Devon. They just figured they didn't work out with each other. So, that was just kind of the sort of a weird thing about it. Nothing I really hold the series against. And I don't even think they're going to bring Devon back, because they sort of said they had an episode where they come to find out, oh, he's got to move all the way to Texas. I'm like, well, damn, from San Francisco all the way to Texas? Jeez. And the thing about it, another thing is that, for the marriages, like for Chelsea's marriage, it's actually a lot harsher. Like, they ended up revealing that with Levi, his dad, he's in jail. I was like, wow. I mean, I saw something like that on, say, Sesame Street. I remember they had an episode about a kid whose parent was in jail. That was very mature of them, because they acknowledged, yeah, that's something a lot of kids do have to deal with, is, say, a parent or guardian that's in prison. Like, how do you cope with that? And I really do like that the fact that they were willing to put that in there, is to say, yeah, he kind of had a bit of a harsh life, you know? Like, you got a dad who's in jail, and Chelsea clearly divorced him, because it's like, yes, went to jail. like, he can't be fucking married to you. We don't know the exact crime, and I'm very doubtful they'll bring it up. You know, I feel like their thing is like, we just leave it at he's in jail. I don't think you need to know what he did. You just know he's in jail. Like, I don't think they'll go the route of, oh, it turned out he was framed the whole time. I'm pretty sure it's like, no, he's in jail. He was clearly a bad person because Chelsea divorced him. Like, of all things, he clearly must have been guilty. He must have actually did it. And everything is like, I can't stay with that. Like, if it was on the lines of, oh, you did it, oh, it was on the lines of you kinda needed to do it, say, to help the family or some sort of thing like that, you were actually looking out for us, or you were framed in that sense, then she probably wouldn't have divorced him, but I don't know. I don't really know the long distance of all this type of stuff. So, yeah, but I just really like the fact that Disney was willing to kind of take into that bit of a harsh reality. That's just something I kind of enjoy. And that's sort of the thing I think they did good with Raven's Home. The one other thing though about Raven's Home is they brought back Raven, Chelsea, and Devon. The other people they did bring back, you kind of know why, sort of. Like Eddie, let's just say the less said about him, the better. Cause, it's like how the mighty have fallen. It's just like, I don't think we all want to know what happened there. So, but with Kyle Massey, i.e. Corey, they chose not to bring him back, but who knows? Maybe they'll probably bring him back in a future episode. Like, they'll probably do something where it's like, oh, he's coming to visit. You know, like how they did Corey in the House, where Raven came to visit the White House, which was weird. But either way, they probably are planning a guest star for him, like a cameo or something. And then there's also Raven's dad, who I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, are they going to bring him back in? Like, I do kind of wonder that. That'd be interesting to see how they deal with that. There's also Raven's mom, who left the show, who left That's So Raven a few seasons in. And it was kind of like, okay, like, the reason why she left was that she felt her character wasn't going anywhere. So she thought, oh, why stay around? Can't blame her, you know, it's like, why stick around for something that's not doing anything for me, so. But, that's the thing. I don't feel like they'll bring her back. I feel like their thing is like, yeah, she's just kind of out of there. You know, we're not bringing the mom back. It kind of sucks, but, But, yeah. So, that's just kind of the thing. If you expect Eddie to show up, with the way that man has been acting, Orlando Brown has been acting, I don't see it happening. And I'm pretty sure even Raven-Symoné is like, I don't want his ass nowhere near this damn set. Like, the shit he's been doing lately is like, no. So, yeah. But all in all, I say, Raven's Home, it's actually a pretty decent show. It's very nice. The humor's good. It's just, the big gripe is Nia and Booker. Just Raven's kids. Chelsea's kid is pretty funny. That their friend is just very strange, and you can't really get a beat on them. And, that's just about it. It's all around nice. They are willing to kind of go with some harsh realities, like the idea that sometimes it's going to be difficult trying to pay the rent here. I like that they're willing to put a bit of reality into this. Even though the thing about That's So Raven was the fact that they dealt with psychic abilities. While they still have the psychic abilities here, they don't really focus on that too much. It's more of a, here's a vision here, and now they need to try to stop this vision from happening. And it's like, okay. It's like perfect. It's like, okay. It doesn't get in the way of anything. It's not the main focus. I just kind of like that. That was sort of what That's So Raven was about. It's about making sure a vision didn't happen. And that's what they did here. And I really appreciate the fact that they put effort into this, that they are willing to actually try to write good material rather than just leave it to, hey, this is that familiar property you watched when you were a kid. Want to watch it again? I'm like, no. Thankfully, there is true talent behind the scripts and everything. So I say it's honestly worth a watch. If you like That's So Raven, I'd say you'll probably like this pretty well too. If you don't like That's So Raven, or didn't watch That's So Raven mainly, then I'd still say you probably would like it. It still has good actual comedy to it. Like, I really can't fake on that. It's just honestly a very nice show, and I'm just glad they managed to make it as good as they did. If you like this video, leave it likes, comment, subscribe, and also help me on Patreon. Your contributions can help this channel grow. And also, if you like gaming, check out this channel, Tez. He does a lot of live Let's Plays, and ultimately, they're pretty funny. And sometimes I'm involved in some of the videos. You can hear me talk. I'll even leave a link in the description if you want to see the video I'm in. And always remember, it's just a thought.